And please feel free to move a little closer so we can have a conversation in the latter part of the session as well. That'll be very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us for this session this afternoon. First of all, I'd just like to say welcome. This session entitled Does Size Really Matter? Replicating Smart City Solutions in Small and Mid-sized Cities. I'm Hal Jones. I'm a principal consultant with Technopolis Group based here in Brussels. I'm sure everyone's appreciated this year's Covenant of Mayors Investment Forum and already picked up some great solutions and good practices examples from across Europe. So I'd like to thank very much the European Commission, SINEA, and the Covenant of Mayors Initiative for organizing this event. Cities play a vital part in Europe's aim to reduce its carbon footprint and take a leading role in the energy transition. In this session, we're going to be focusing on Innovation Ateliers, an initiative that brings stakeholders together to address and solve issues around the energy transition and to develop positive energy districts. These are urban neighborhoods with annual net zero energy input and net zero CO2 emissions, and working towards surplus, producing a renewable energy surplus. The program is about scaling efforts up from positive energy buildings towards neighborhood scale and a new level of sustainable urban development. But today we'll also be discussing how to scale down as well as up from the larger cities, developing these new models and how they can be replicated in smaller and mid-sized cities, and what lessons can be applied more widely. And to help us, we have three panel members who will share their experiences, insights from three major projects. Rudy Roth has worked in the energy sector for 36 years and currently works for the municipality of Amsterdam. He's working on the urban energy transition since 2003, and since 2019, he has been leading the positive energy district activities in the Amsterdam Lighthouse project, Atelier. This is a 5-year EU project which focuses on developing citizen-driven positive energy districts in 2 lighthouse cities, Amsterdam and Bilbao, and their solutions will then be replicated in 6 fellow cities, Bratislava, Budapest, Copenhagen, Krakow, Matosinhos and Riga. Luigi Lopipero is a partner at Technopolis Group and is the matchmaking coordinator of the Smart Cities Marketplace. He's managed several large-scale EU-funded projects and programs, especially involved in knowledge management and stakeholder engagement. The Smart Cities Marketplace is a hub that brings together cities, industry, SMEs, investors, banks, research, and other actors to improve quality of life, competitiveness, and reach European energy and climate targets. Angelo Giordano is Senior Financial Strategist at Civesco, the energy service company of Citibank. He runs the Roadshow for Scalable Cities, which represents 120 cities currently involved in 18 smart cities and communities projects. Working in consortia with academia, industry associations, and others, Scalable Cities aim to create a sustainable, innovative, and citizen-led community of smart cities across Europe. I know we're going to have a valuable discussion today. Our panel today will have 5 minutes each just to present those projects and give you an introduction. And then we'll start having a discussion amongst ourselves on this stage. And now I'll invite questions that may arise to you as well. We have 15 to 20 minutes for Q&A at the end. So since time is of the essence, and we don't want to be late for the final plenary, I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Rudy, please.
Okay, thank you, Hyrule, for this kind introduction. You already explained the essence of the Atelier project on the positive energy district. So I will not dwell too long on that. Maybe on a few technical things that might be of interest, because the main part of the talk is about a non-technical topic. But a main element of the project is that the district will be a kind of virtual district. A couple of buildings that are energy positive or almost energy positive in themselves. They have microgrids, which means that they have a single connection to the outside grid. And there is an overall system that regulates and monitors the energy consumption of the various buildings and power plants associated with it in order to, well, for example, optimize self-consumption or to optimize the economics, whatever the people in the buildings would desire. But the actual topic of this presentation is the ateliers that we have in, well, this is the name giver of the project. I spoke to a colleague of mine that I met a couple of years ago with the Smart Cities Information System, Hans van de Viveren. He said, we call it a workbench. Well, there are many ways to express how you want to organize collaboration between different stakeholders inside the municipality. Amsterdam is a very big municipality with a lot of silos. So we have transport, we have economics, we have sustainability, we have urban planning, clean air, and they are all currently still separate departments that meet each other, of course, at a higher level, but real cooperation is still to be improved, I would say. So what we set out to do as a non-technical topic in the Atelier project is to set up innovation ateliers, which, well, should serve our vision of collaborative operation in the municipality, solving the problems around our positive energy district that we want to develop. Of course, in the end, you could scale this up to doing it energy transition for the entire city. But in the beginning, we pilot the scheme for the positive energy district. And important to say is that what we, the people or the parties that we want to involve is what we call the quadruple helix, is the citizens, the government, industry and business, and academia. And what is also important in our sessions that we organize on topics at hand is that it is a safe place where people can operate. Because normally when energy companies talk to a housing corporation, they have their own interest and their policy of the company, which they have to adhere to. And this is not always the best environment to explore the possibilities that exist in, for example, making win-win situations. And before I forget, I go back to the previous slide because I have added 2 links at the bottom of the slide. I assume that they will be distributed or will be available later. And on the first one, you can see a guideline that was a product of the project to give you more background on how to set up these innovation ateliers. So you can have a look at that. It's a public website. And the other one is an example of Innovation City Ruhr in Bottrop, a project that already started about 10 years ago and still ongoing on using innovation to, well, to bring the city forward. They had to cope with the end of the mining of the coal in that area, and they had to reinvent themselves, which makes also a very important ingredient for these innovation technology or measures, is that there needs to be a kind of urgency. So with Bottrop, it was as if their life depended on it. And I think if we have that sense of feeling also about the energy transition, then we will work together better, I think. So this slide is about the Innovation Atelier of Amsterdam. We also have one in Bilbao, our sister city. And it gives some ingredients about what the Innovation Atelier delivers: access to pools of experts, an adaptable framework, access to funding strategies. There is universities involved. Currently, we mainly pull them from the partners in the project, but we also try to extend that. The energy transition is a complex matter. In the project, we do a lot on technology, but also, and that is actually the track on top of this, the picture that you see, the integrated smart energy systems and electromobility. But other important elements that we found out that need to be tackled is governance, planning and law, finance, which is also the topic of this conference, of course, and data privacy and data platforms. We also discover that, especially in this area where you have microgrids and you want to optimize energy use, actually you would like to have access to the data of every individual household, but you have to secure that there is no misuse of that, and that you, let's say, comply with the GDPR regulations. So an overview of the activities that we do, expert meetings, when there is a specific problem, like in our project in Amsterdam North, electricity congestion is currently becoming more and more prominent because of the lot of buildings that need to be there. These buildings also have larger capacities because of heat pumps, because of electric vehicles that need to be loaded or charged. That discussions have taken place, for example, with the local district system operator in order to see how the requirements of our project meet with the things they can do. For example, there is a big battery in the buildings. That battery is supposed to support the grid because you can take off load or give back energy when needed, but it needs capacity, even more capacity than the building would otherwise need. And so we are looking for solutions, and on the other hand, we are having additional problems. Well, these kind of things we discuss and hope to find solutions for. I think I'm way over my 5 minutes, so I will keep it at that.
Thanks very much, Rudy. That's a great start for our discussion. And Angelo, maybe I can invite you to speak next. Feel free to take the podium. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon. Should we change?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I think we got the order wrong. So maybe I can invite Luigi to take the podium to represent Smart Cities Marketplace. Yeah.
It's just to keep you awake, although it is almost the end of the event, and I think it is you're gonna have a nice session with us. You're gonna see. Rudy already did a good job. So, can you hear me? Thank you all for being here. Maybe it's too strong like this. I will already kindly introduce me. I'm Luigi Lupipero from Technopolis Group, but more importantly today, I am representing the Smart Cities Marketplace. I don't want you to focus too much on the names of the initiatives today. This maybe we can develop later. Obviously, they are important. We all come with our experience, with our starting points, but we are all trying to achieve the same things. So this, I think, is the key message that we are going to convey to you later. The Smart Cities Marketplace, it is basically an initiative of the European Commission that is, you can see it in the screen, I think, that is led by DG Energy. And it is not new. It was already there in a previous format. Now it has been redesigned, improved, and it focuses on two key objectives to contribute notably to, obviously, climate neutrality by facilitating access to funding and financing, but also by providing guidance and support wherever it is needed in a tailored manner for cities, notably small and medium-sized cities, for engaging in the path towards climate neutrality through clean energy solutions, digital solutions, and also sustainable mobility. I said about tailored solutions because really the starting point and the focus is on the needs of the communities. Rudy gave some interesting examples before, and this is also amplified and very much at the heart of the mission of the Smart Cities Marketplace. We have designed some customer journeys, which, depending on the level of maturity, the interest, the capacity of a project idea, we can basically deliver the service that is needed to support and accelerate, wherever it is possible, the attainment of goals in terms of financing and funding of solutions for achieving climate neutrality in cities. It is not that we work only on cities, but also on city consortia. So it's very much the quadruple helix approach that Rudy said, and as you will see later with Angelo, it is very much the same thing. We have in our initiative, in addition to the engage phase, which is basically when we come here today and draw your attention on what we're doing, there is also the explore for those who do not know exactly what to do, but they are curious. They feel the need, but still they don't have a concrete path in front of them. And so they need to learn what is coming and what is possible to do. Then we have the shape, which is a sort of a laboratory where through tailored services, processes, and tools, we accompany them towards the identification of a concrete idea that is also formulated in a way that can ideally receive funding and financing, which is the deal phase. There is also a fast track. So if someone is ready to go and meet the investors, that's possible as well. I think it is quite clear. We have several services that are integrated. We have matchmaking events, financing masterclasses. We have also help desks, a project database for knowledge exchange, obviously a web page, peer-to-peer exchanges, and also calls for assistance and one-to-one consultancy services. Always with all of this is to assemble a tailored package of service depending on our beneficiaries. Who is implementing it? I told you about the Commission. DG Ender is guiding us and steering the projects. Then we have an advisory board because we work very much in synergies with other initiatives that I'm going to show you in a second. A secretariat, which is led by Vito, my colleagues who could not be here today, but since the focus was more on matchmaking, I volunteered. And so I'm very happy to be here with you today. And then other parties that you see there. And then we have the community of cities, researchers, investors, of course, consortia, etc. The synergies is a pillar in our approach. We put ourselves in the center so it's easier for everyone else to see, but in reality, there is no center. It's a constellation of initiatives that try to pursue the same goal through different angles. So the good news is that there is a wealth of opportunities, but behind the scenes, we cooperate to try and make the experience as seamless as possible to the cities. And about this, we're going to talk more in a second. So I thank you all for the attention, and maybe I give you the floor back so Angelo can finally, after this suspense, do his presentation. Thank you.
So come back again. Good afternoon. Thank you, Luigi. You express your presentation about the Smart City Marketplace. I'm here representing the Scalable Cities Consortium that if you, may I use one of your wonderful slides? If you look at the, no, that's not coming back, no. If you remember the bubble, we are in the bubble together. There is the smart city marketplace, the scalable cities, the covenant of measure. Of course, there are two different managing authorities. So we are the GNR and SAINIA, but we are a service together for the smart city scenario, the energy transition scenario dedicated to cities. Our engagement is with SAINIA, that is our implement and managing authority, and we are the secretariat for the already granted cities receiving grant for smart cities and community projects. So we handle the 18 projects granted so far. I would isolate my short presentation today on three different services that our consortium, and we could talk about the synergy later on with Luigi, for the city. So we have somehow some roadshow, and with the roadshow, we would like to assist the cities to parameterize and to self-evaluating their portfolio of projects. So those who are which are already finished, but even those who are in the climate neutral initiative. So settled around some bankable parameters embedded with some impact factors. So in order to speed up what in the previous presentation by Luigi was the deal meeting. So it's a capacity building project to commit the Lighthouse cities and community project, but even the climate neutral cities together. This road shows that there's an agenda, then maybe you could ask us, is fundamentally based on three different pillars of activities. So the evaluation of portfolio, you could find similarity with the explore phase of the previous presentation. We even work with some innovative funding option for settling or for coupling the funding gap that we found in the evaluation. And of course, what has been selected, what has been mentioned before, the deal meeting. So we showcase the portfolio in front of a wide qualified assistance. So on the top of that, we could assist cities in assess the portfolio project, and we could extract data from the project in a harmonized way. There is another service that is a public service. So we assess, we analyze the project already ongoing. So looking at the 18 project family. So we work with the project, we reassess their project with the data coming from the monitoring phase. We identify those who are a dignity in terms of bankability and financial stability, profitability, and we could somehow tailor with their business model and eventually extract some value data to be showcased and to be used in the road. But the road is not the objective of this activity. So this is the overall list. So I don't know if you are experienced with the bubble of Lighthouse cities and community. There were three waves. So the first call 2014, 2015 financed some jeopardized intervention in terms of energy, refurbishment, mobility, and data. The second wave tried to combine in a single way all this intervention. The third wave talked about the positive energy district, that is the sublimation of the smart city. Now the smart city is a positive energy, now it's a positive and clean energy district demonstration, but it's a city who is asked to make a boundaries in which the intervention led by the energy transition is somehow collected and managed. And we will have this sort of analysis. This is maybe we could talk about later on in the discussion. Another service is somehow a capacity building transfer. So we draft some oriented paper based on the mission needs, but based on the SENIA request about different topics. Now we are dealing with the systemic change in governance, with the status of smart city marketplace, and those with the fund and finance climate neutral cities. Should be revealed quite soon. Last but not least, because it's somehow, as discussed before in the OCD facilities, is somehow quite the same. And I heard even from Luigi that is the action grant. We create some cutoff date for cities, even without outside of the bubble, to apply for grants to do some things. So we put some strength. So the first call was about the systemic change in governance and to define financing mechanism to attract investors. We had cities or group of cities or cities with the commitment of their local developers. We at the end of the story, we will grant, I don't know, I have to ask to my partners, but 5 to 6 different cities. Where do they come from? You could see that 70–85% of them are coming from the Lighthouse consortium, but there are some example of cities outside of the bubble. This should be the next topics for the next calls. So the energy security, the education, the data digitalization, the citizen engagement, and the replication. So for the moment, that's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Angelo. Before I open to the floor for questions, and I'm sure you all have many, I wanted to start off just by asking our panelists, what are some of the surprises that have emerged from these projects, whether in terms of successes or challenges that you faced? Please go ahead.
Is it on? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the biggest surprise for Atelier was COVID. We were three months underway, and well, to keep it short, because it is really a demonstration project in which a lot of things needed to be done and sold and organized. This was a serious setback. For example, the sales period for the apartments that were being built in one of the projects was in the spring of 2020, and well, nothing happened. I mean, it took about a year before people got some more confidence in that either governments or vaccines or whatever would alleviate the problems a little bit. So that set us back at least a year.
Luigi, does it work? Yes.
Otherwise, I can just raise my voice. I mean, not to be dramatic again, but actually for the Smart Cities Marketplace, in addition to COVID, we just started the contract now last summer, and I would say the war is a major issue because it creates uncertainty that affects the inclination of cities to invest, because you invest when you have a certain predictability about what's going to happen with your investment. If you take a loan, especially, which is one of the forms of financing that you can decide to go for, finding the resources to implement your project, you want to know how much it's going to cost you as a city. And then also in city administration, you don't take usually very quick decisions like could happen in some parts of the private market. And so knowing that for meeting the goals of set in enshrined in the European climate law and in the European Green Deal, Europe needs yearly between 500 and 600 billion euros in addition to what the member states are already spending. You can understand how difficult our goal to humbly contribute to mobilize some of good investment in that direction has become. However, this is one negative. The positive, I would say, is to find that there are so many also nice colleagues, I would say. There is a nice atmosphere with all the initiatives that are here today with you, but there are many more. We are discussing to try and make life easier for all the cities and also the investors to actually have this challenge one in terms of climate neutrality. That's it, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
May I add one more?
Please.
Because COVID was one, but the other major concern that we now have for the last building that we still need to build is that the prices have risen so much that well, there was a re-evaluation necessary of the investors, etc., in that building, whether it was still worthwhile, because it was a building with a regulated rent. So it was not. It is not just a matter of increasing the rent and then covering your larger expenses. And well, recalculating takes time, and sometimes we have the feeling that once they have recalculated it, it's invalid again because the prices have risen again. So we hope we come out of this vicious circle. And the current plan for starting the last building is the end of this month. So we hope for the best.
Thanks very much. Angelo, perhaps you'd like to speak about surprises.
Yeah, thanks. We just had a negative surprise when we assessed the first wave of project, but we suddenly knew it before that city-led projects were not led by cities or city representative but by RTO or by other different entities, and a consequence of that. So at the end of the story, you don't have replicability or scalability plan to deal with. And on the other side, there is a minor role that we found compared to the fellow cities. So the fellows are over there to learn and to try to replicate. But at the end of the story, only in 18 projects, so we could count on 10 projects, only a first and only one case has made this added value. So in one of the first project, Triangulum, there was a Leipzig, there was a fellow city. They learned, they went beyond the silo approach that you talked before from different city department. They created a digital department that led to a proposal on a city transformation and a city investment plan. In this parks, Leipzig is one of the Lighthouse city, and he committed more than $500 million of investment plan inside the project compared to the 3 million of granted attracted by the project. So this is a good news.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions from the floor? Please raise your hand, and we have a microphone. You, sir, maybe to start, and I'll come to you.
So thank you very much for giving me the chance to speak. I'm from the European Investment Bank, from the advisory services. And listening to your presentation, I realized it was remaining for me a bit abstract. You most of the time referred to some other projects supported by EU grants, and I'm missing a little bit to grasp the thing. Can each of the speaker give one very specific down-to-earth example, what kind of support you have provided to projects?
Angelo, you want to start?
Yeah, thanks, Robert. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. In this case, it's not easy to face with a city representative for two different reasons. But maybe with the aid of European Investment Bank Advisory Hub, we could. That it's maybe cities don't trust about the financing in engineering, or on the other side, they go to the traditional credit channel. So it's not easy to propose some concrete financing activities. And on the other side, there is a lack of project to be replicated, starting from what we, or to scale up, starting from what they physically deployed during these years. But there is a good news. We could work together with the cities, especially with those who have portfolio of action in the climate neutral initiative. And for them, there is a huge need of fulfilling the gap that they estimated in terms of investment needs. So to reply to your question, is yeah, we could we have some executive tool, and we are trying to go practically, but it's not easy. Yeah?
Luigi, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can
Or
tell
really-
something about it. Well, Atelier is really about a demonstration. But what I have experience with the, let's say, the kind of umbrella projects that the EU has organized since 2008, I think, in Concerto and Smart Cities Information System, etc. And I think they are very important, because at that time, all the projects were doing some dissemination, mostly on a well, relatively low scale, and the lessons were mainly well, they were often related to local circumstances, so they were difficult to translate to other parties. So I think the umbrella made well, made it possible to write policy papers and technology papers on a much more useful scale for everybody to use than what the project individually would have produced.
And as far as the Smart Cities Marketplace is concerned, in the previous edition, 600 million euros have been mobilized for 127 cities. I was not involved previously. The new contract started now, but just I want to clarify in case there was an ambiguity. The Smart Cities Marketplace doesn't provide any resources directly. We facilitate the identification of funding and financing for projects of the right maturity, starting from whatever stage, let's say, of development. So in this sense, the added value is the tailoring, and also the fact of going local, where the cities are, where the knowledge sometimes does not reach, although there are the resources to activate such knowledge. As we know, I mean, also the colleagues explained how difficult it can be to have the magic cocktail that produces the replicability, even when you work on a demonstrator, even when you have a city that has developed successfully a solution, not necessarily this can be moved and applied as such. The guiding question of today was, does size matter? It does, but it's not only size. There is also, if I may humbly try and remind some of the elements that have been mentioned, I think they're useful for everyone. Well, in addition, of course, of the availability of a suitable funding or financing, but then there is the capacity to break the silos of and routines of the traditional incremental innovation to move into a more disruptive type of innovation. That is what we need to get the acceleration to achieve climate neutrality. This is what Rudy mentioned earlier. He said, right, Rudy, in the administration, it is difficult. We have our silos, we have our routines, our mindsets. The other element is the certainly important, the fact of a community developing a long-term vision. Climate neutrality is not something you can achieve overnight. You need to think about it. You need to be in synchro. You need to be ready to accept the costs. To give an example, if the decision of the community is to invest in renewable energies, solutions like wind energy, then some don't like it. Some communities are against for different reasons, all legitimate. So again, you must build a solid feeling and a solid story led by individuals, by champions, by investors, by researchers, by private actors, by researchers as well, but also by stakeholders, by the whole community that is engaged. This engagement, the concept is important, engaged in the process. They understand the benefits, they think they're important for them, and they are willing to go through this path that, again, takes some time. And then also, some of these solutions are very rarely a simple product or a simple service that you acquire. It is a complex strategy sometimes. That's why also you talk about plans in some programs, because there is a lot of measures that need to be implemented. The context matters. There are specific elements that are key, distinguishing of every reality. But then at the same time, not always the context is a barrier, because the osmosis is possible. The uniformity of scalability can, exists. And in that area, in this wedge, we can certainly play a role with our initiatives jointly.
Okay, thank you. I believe there was a gentleman down here. Please just say your name and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Demetrios Sofianopoulos. I work in Cinea. And I was also in contact with you for this very nice session. Thank you very much for your very interesting speeches. So replication is very central in the way that the Horizon Call has been drafted for the smart cities, and it's also very central for the two initiatives that you also presented to us. And my question is, so you also refer to kind of what I want to ask. You assess the progress of the cities that try to replicate the example of the Lighthouse cities. Do you also go a step further to propose to the fellow cities? Because I understand that the progress that they've made is not spectacular. Do you also make the step to propose to them like a pathway where they could use that in order to follow the example of the kind of Lighthouse cities? And for all three of you, if you could say one thing, one barrier that you see for the fellow cities, for the cities that try to replicate the example, because I understand that there might be different issues depending on the city, the geographic area. But if you could just say one thing that you think it's a main barrier for the cities to follow the example, for example, of the city that leads Amsterdam or Bilbao. Thank you.
I think that there is in Atelier there is two main elements where we try to replicate. One is in the fellow cities, for those people that are not informed about that, but these Lighthouse projects, they have two cities or three sometimes that do the main demonstrations, but fellow cities want to learn mainly. In our generation of projects, they need to come up with a city plan, a bold city plan for 2050. So that's one thing that especially Amsterdam could help them with, because we finished our plan in 2020. And we are currently in the monitoring phase of that. So we are working according to those lines and according to the methodology that some of our partners have with the fellow cities. The other thing is the ateliers. That's the way of working together to finding out, exploring the possibilities that people have. We do that, and I'm very interested in one of the roadshows that you mentioned, because then scale is also going to these cities that want it. And so maybe we can combine effort there to strengthen each other activities. And the last thing is that within the city of Amsterdam and Bilbao, there is also a lot to do, because we are demonstrating in a certain district. But when the project proposal was written, there were about 5 or 6 districts that were being developed, and they were all ambitious, but some were a little bit late, and some were well, not ambitious enough. So my task currently is also to constantly inform the developers in those areas about what we are doing in Atelier, in order to spread the way of working within Amsterdam too.
Thank you. Angelo, perhaps you'd like to?
Yeah, thanks. I would say the first thing is that so starting from the standpoint of the let me say the age of the project. So we looked essentially at the first wave, and for sure the first wave produced worst, not good performing result in terms of lighthouse cities. So I would say that if a lighthouse city has not a good result, so I could imagine how difficult for the fellow cities to try to replicate a non-performing project. So this is the main barrier. I would say wait, because we are facing projects, for example, for the second wave to the third, that maybe the fellow city are more advanced in terms of translating the project into their context. So, and this is one of the another obstacle. So a replication plan could be not appropriate for every context. So what has been developed in Amsterdam, I don't think it could be developed in Budapest or in Krakow, but this is the mismatch. So there should be a room in the project in which the project developed in the Lighthouse City should be translated into country-based needs. So this could be done since the beginning, because at the end of the project, the city should have a replication plan. And another thing is that the sites is not the sites that will impact, but the different in the market, and the market attractiveness. Because what about Amsterdam as the sites and the market? But I don't know if should be one of the city, maybe Matosinhos. It's a satellite city of Porto, and maybe not big enough in terms of sites, but maybe not attractive in terms of country market. So maybe should be an activities or a regional activities on how to pool and how to clusterize project to attract the elephant in the room that is over there. Yeah.
If I may add something, because especially the issue of the ateliers, we have thought about how to implement that in the smaller cities. But it might, well, especially be interesting to them, because the smaller cities or municipalities, they normally don't have the expertise in many fields. So the concept of working with business and academia and consulting citizens, etc., if they can accept that and find it useful, I think they can mobilize a lot of knowledge. This makes them further faster.
Luigi, I think we just have five or so minutes left.
Does it work? Yeah. Well, I think, most of the elements have been said. Obviously, the question is provocative because there is not one barrier, but I like to play the game. I would say it is I would agree that mainly just because of my optimistic view of life, is not the lack of skills or resources or assets that we are not where we would like to be, but it is because we can and shall and are actually working to further improve the way we connect resources, we mobilize knowledge, we articulate the expression of territorial reality or a market reality in a place to engage and commit for the formulation of an idea. We detect innovation and we understand how it can be translated elsewhere in a simple manner, so to make it accessible, so that those who are sharing the need realize that they don't need to reinvent the wheel. There is already a solution there, but just it's not at their reach because of language barrier, because it costs to get it there, because they don't understand necessarily the technicalities. We are aware, the European Commission actually, so I'm talking to you, but it's you talking to us in reality, if I may humbly say so. You have put in place a formidable arsenal of solutions for our communities to really move towards the path of climate neutrality successfully, if we are able to move together with a good coordination, coming to these events, finding out what is out there, and then we proactively and you proactively from the higher, let's say, towers, coordinating the initiative in a way that the experience of a city is seamless. So not like a patient in a hospital seeing the surgeons arguing, I'm going to serve you with this kind of scalpel. No, I'm going to use this instead. They don't care. What they care is that once they have the motivation to heal, in the metaphor, it means to achieve climate neutrality, of course, then the service is made available in the best possible way. With their, obviously, first step, they need to be engaged, committed,